every light has its shadow, and every shadow hath a succeeding morning. To know the mighty works of God, to comprehend his wisdom and majesty and power, to appreciate, in degree, the wonderful workings of his laws, surely all this must be a pleasing and acceptable mode of worship to the Most High, to whom ignorance cannot be more grateful than knowledge. For I am not so enamored of my own opinions that I disregard what others may think of them. Of all things visible, the highest is the heaven of the fixed stars. Finally we shall place the sun himself at the center of the universe. To know that we know what we know, and to know that we do not know what we do not know, that is true knowledge. Nations are not ruined by one act of violence, but gradually and in an almost imperceptible manner by the depreciation of their circulating currency, through its excessive quantity. In the center of all rests the sun. For who would place this lamp of a very beautiful temple in another or better place that this wherefrom it can illuminate everything at the same time? As a matter of fact, not unhappily do some call it the lantern, others, the mind, and still others, the pilot of the world. Trismegistus calls it a visible god, Sophocles Electra, that which gazes upon all things. And so the sun, as if resting on a kingly throne, governs the family of stars which wheel around. For what could be more beautiful than the heavens which contain all beautiful things? I am aware that a philosopher's ideas are not subject to the judgment of ordinary persons, because it is his endeavor to seek the truth in all things, to the extent permitted to human reason by God. The massive bulk of the earth does indeed shrink to insignificance in comparison with the size of the heavens. Among the authorities, it is generally agreed that the earth is at rest in the middle of the universe, and they regard it as inconceivable and even ridiculous to hold the opposite opinion. However, if we consider it more closely, the question will be seen to be still unsettled, and so decidedly not to be despised. For every apparent change in respect of position is due to motion of the object observed, or of the observer, or indeed to an unequal change of both. Those who know that the consensus of many centuries has sanctioned the conception that the earth remains at rest in the middle of the heavens as its center, would, I reflected, regard it as an insane pronouncement if I made the opposite assertion that the earth moves. Finally we shall place the sun himself at the center of the universe. All this is suggested by the system of precession of events and the harmony of the whole universe, if only we face the facts, as they say, with eyes wide open. Mathematics is written for mathematicians. There may be babblers, wholly ignorant of mathematics, who dare to condemn my hypothesis, upon the authority of some part of the Bible twisted to suit their purpose. I value them not, and scorn their unfounded judgment. Moreover, since the sun remains stationary, whatever appears as a motion of the sun is really due rather to the motion of the earth. For when a ship is floating calmly along, the sailors see its motion mirrored in everything outside, while on the other hand they suppose that they are stationary, together with everything on board. In the same way, the motion of the earth can unquestionably produce the impression that the entire universe is rotating. The earth together with its surrounding waters must in fact have such a shape as its shadow reveals, for it eclipses the moon with the arc of a perfect circle. In so many and such important ways, then, do the planets bear witness to the earth's mobility. Therefore, when I considered this carefully, the contempt which I had to fear because of the novelty and apparent absurdity of my view, nearly induced me to abandon utterly the work I had begun. Although all the good arts serve to draw man's mind away from vices and lead it toward better things, this function can be more fully performed by this art, which also provides extraordinary intellectual pleasure. For it is the duty of an astronomer to compose the history of the celestial motions through careful and expert study. I shall now recall to mind that the motion of the heavenly bodies is circular, since the motion appropriate to a sphere is rotation in a circle. In the midst of all dwells the sun. I can easily conceive, most Holy Father, that as soon as some people learn that in this book which I have written concerning the revolutions of the heavenly bodies, I ascribe certain motions to the earth, they will cry out at once that I and my theory should be rejected. If there be some who, though ignorant of all mathematics, dare to reprove this work, because of some passage of Scripture, which they have miserably warped to their purpose, I regard them not, and even despise their rash judgment. More stars in the north are seen not to set, while in the south certain stars are no longer seen to rise. Mathematics is written for mathematicians. In the first book, I shall describe all the positions of the spheres, along with the motions which I attribute to the earth, so that the book will contain as it were the general structure of the universe. In the remaining books I relate the motions of the remaining stars, and all the spheres, to the mobility of the earth, so that it can be thence established how far the motions and appearances of the remaining stars and spheres can be saved if they are referred to the motions of the earth. Astronomy is written for astronomers. If there should chance to be any mathematicians who, ignorant in mathematics yet pretending to skill in that science, should dare, upon the authority of some passage of Scripture wrested to their purpose, to condemn and censure my hypothesis, I value them not, and scorn their inconsiderate judgment. So far as hypotheses are concerned, let no one expect anything certain from astronomy, which cannot furnish it, lest he accept as the truth ideas conceived for another purpose, and depart from this study a greater fool than when he entered it. The scorn which I had reason to fear on account of the novelty and unconventionality of my opinion almost induced me to abandon completely the work which I had undertaken. Astronomy is written for astronomers. To them my work too will seem, unless I am mistaken, to make some contribution. Yet the widespread planetary theories, advanced by Ptolemy and most other astronomers, although consistent with the numerical data, seemed likewise to present no small difficulty. For these theories were not adequate unless they also conceived certain equalizing circles, which made the planet appear to move at all times with uniform velocity neither on its deferent sphere nor about its own epicycle's center. Pouring forth its seas everywhere, the ocean envelops the earth and fills its deeper chasms. For a traveler going from any place toward the north, that pole of the daily rotation gradually climbs higher, while the opposite pole drops down an equal amount.